Alright guys, this is going to be a great video. It was originally going to be 2 videos, and it was going to be 1 video, now it's going to be 2 videos again. My original complete advanced rebirth theory has gotten some pretty damn good traction, over 80,000 views, and I've responded to a lot of comments and questions, so thanks for everyone who's watched, shared, and subscribed. Some viewers have said or affirmed that it is the best theory they have seen on Rebirth so far. There has also been some criticism, either coming from general criticism of Remake and Rebirth or of my harsh scrutiny of certain characters. Now, if you haven't watched the theory, I have a long 4-hour version and a short 12-minute version. I'll be repeating relevant bits in this video, so you don't have to have watched the whole theory, but it'll help you understand this video if you have. Before I continue, obviously there will be many spoilers of 7 Remake and Rebirth, and I want to also thank SourceSpy91 again for uploading clean, high-resolution playthroughs of the games on his channel. The basis of and inspiration for this video was what Kazushige Nojima said in the Rebirth Ultimania. He said, "In writing the scenario for this game, I studied things like Buddhism's Yogacara and Jung's theory of the collective unconscious. I think referring to these should make it easier to understand how the world of this game is set up. They may even give you a hint as to how the story will conclude. Beyond how I think Yogacara and Jung's ideas relate to 7, I will show you how the Materia system in Final Fantasy VII is actually based on Marvel's Infinity Stones, and I will show you what the ultimate Materia will likely turn out to be. In the end, I want to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy XVI. I'll give an extra spoiler warning once we get there. I've had this video in the back of my mind for a while, but once I remembered a certain scene in Remake, I decided I actually had to make it. So, the Yogacarans believe that everything is mind, all is mind. Everything is dependent on mind, and nothing exists without the mind.
The yogis, like back in ancient India, like thousands of years ago, basically started to believe that the world was false. Ultimately, that the experience that they have within a dream is actually the same experience that you have within reality. That even though a dream can be fake or real, your experience of a dream is the same as your experience of life. And so what they realized is that, like, ultimately the foundation of reality is actually consciousness. And that the foundation of reality is experience, and that the external world is false.
From our current perspective, this is a pretty extreme position, but I think the only thing we need to understand about Yogacara to understand what Nojima may have meant is that it is an idealist philosophy. Philosophical idealism is an umbrella that encompasses propositions that beliefs themselves or ideas or mind actually exist in a state that is separate and usually superior to a material world like the one we experience, or in Yogakara's case, a material world that does not actually exist on its own. One of the more popular Western examples of idealism is Plato's World of Forms, which is illustrated with his allegory known as Plato's Cave. Plato suggested that ideas actually exist in a world that is separate and prior to our material world, and that what we experience are merely shadows of this world of ideas. Now, Carl Jung was a psychologist in the mid-1900s who is popular for proposing the idea of unconscious knowledge of archetypes, or common images and symbols, being pervasive in human psychology, among other psychology concepts. I've heard Jung's ideas of the collective unconscious and personality archetypes be described as idealism, but I don't think his concepts are necessarily idealism. They'd only be technically idealistic if the archetypes are thought to actually exist in an amorphous or otherworldly sense, like Plato's World of Forms, rather than just describing primal intuitions or concepts we humans have built into ourselves, like how spiders instinctively know how to build their webs. But in particular, Jung's concept of the shadow is effectively anti-idealistic. Our shadows are supposedly our personality traits that are suppressed either by ourselves or society as a whole, but are nevertheless there and real. Jung believed through his practice observation that having too much of a suppressed shadow could lead to other social and psychological difficulties, and so he encouraged shadow work to accept the shadow and balance it with the persona that we portray to ourselves and others. In reality, though, what may be referred to as the shadow in this way is often actually the result of multiple meanings of the word idealism, not just the concept that ideas exist and therefore have real effects on our material world, but also the various beliefs of what is ideal, as in good, proper, better, moral, and so on. Moral idealists specifically believe there is an objective morality that actually exists independently of our subjective human opinions and hierarchically judges our human beliefs and actions. In Remake, there are a few examples of idealism. One was when Aerith said,
"He'd tell you that he only cares about the planet, that he'd do everything in his power to protect and preserve it. But this isn't the way it's supposed to be. There's no greater threat to the planet than him."
To claim there is a way things are supposed to be that fits a mental conception, rather than forming your ideas according to how the world really is a claim of objective morality that necessarily declares as bad or wrong anything that contradicts this claim. Aerith has a goal, and she is equating her goal with an objective judgment, so much so that she is even putting her goal above fate, as it is she who decides to follow Sephiroth through the portal and defy destiny, while the Whispers scream at her.
I guess maybe that's why I hesitated.
Jung shows us another example of idealism after the Turks drop the plate on Sector 7.
You know, Reno, I think you might be due for some R&R.
Nah, I'm good.
What are we going to do about Sector 7?
We are going to do nothing.
Been thinking, was all that necessary?
Had we refused, someone else would have completed the task. We have spared that someone the burden of a guilty conscience. Perhaps that will ease yours.
Yeah, nope.
Let's try another tack then. They were a sacrifice to balance the scales.
Say what?
After everything we'd taken from the planet, we were due to give something back.
Do you actually believe that?
Does it matter?
This was very overt backwards rationalization. He decided what he wanted the conclusion to be, then sought excuses for that conclusion. Karma is just an idea, yet he proposes it here as almost a moral imperative. His lack of seriousness is revealed by his overt question of, does it matter? He believes in mind over matter. Notice that he said we were due to give something back. He verbally includes themselves as among the people who sacrificed, but the Turks and Shinra leaders were not among the tens of thousands killed during the platefall. Once we get to President Shinra's office, we see that Jung's idealistic mental gymnastics are actually a mask for Shinra's overt materialistic greed.
Damn. You're lying to yourself even now. Truth, justice, honor, freedom. Vain indulgences, everyone. Picture it. Picture a world without Shinra, without Mako energy. Now picture a natural disaster. Who would help the people? Help them recover and rebuild? You? With their old world ruined, will they thank you for the new? I'm going to give you a chance. One last opportunity to consider what your principles are truly worth. But bear in mind that time is of the essence.
And what about you, Mr. President? What are your vaunted principles?
What principles? Did you understand even a single word of what I told you? I know what I want, and I take it. I take advantage of whatever I can, and discard that which I cannot. There is no room for sentiment or guilt.
Shinra is decidedly anti-idealistic. He overtly criticized Barrett's ideals. In my original theory, I explained how Jenova very likely has been in control of, or at least influencing, President Shinra for a long time, and subsequently, or simultaneously, Rufus. Jenova set up the meeting between Shinra and the party to show them what her perspective was. In Rebirth, the Jenova Dreamweaver effigies in the Gi's village and the Gi's skull-covered faces are evidence that Jenova and the Gi are associated with each other. The starkest example of idealism in Rebirth is when Gi Natak said,
Those not born of the life stream can never join its flow. One cannot return to that from which one did not arise. And so our souls sought refuge here. Yet idleness brought no solace. Our days, a penance imposed by the planet for the sin of our existence.
Everything about you is wrong.
The sin of our existence is probably the most idealistic claim a person can make. Sin is a concept, but elevating it to the point where it can judge the reality of existence implies not only that the idea of sin exists, but it is far superior and has power over other forms of existence. Natak is claiming that that was the rationalization the Cetra used to imprison the Gi's souls in Cosmo Canyon. The Cetra claimed the Gi were a threat who created the meteor black materia. Natak claimed the Gi created their black materia only after they had been trapped for an eternity, and that it had the power to destroy their spirits with no mention of meteor. In my complete theory, I predicted the Gi's black materia that Cloud has in the end will actually turn out to be a vessel that transfers large amounts of the Gi's red life force to the northern crater to combine with large amounts of Mako blue energy there to revive Jenova, Sephiroth, and then themselves. So I'm betting the Cetra's claim that the Gi created Meteor will probably turn out to be a lie. The developers appear to be pitting idealism and realism against each other, and as far as I can tell, idealism has been maybe more negatively portrayed. In Remake, Aerith was strangely defensive of Shinra.
People hate the steel sky, the slums, but I don't. How could I? All that passion, all those dreams, flowing and blending together into something greater.
Me, I'm gonna go bust some Shinra heads.
Barrett, wait. You can't do that.
Talk to me again like you know me.
Barrett! Stop it!
These lines were not what we would expect of a Cetra, who supposedly had a sacred duty to protect the planet and its lifestream, and especially not from Aerith, since both her parents were killed by Shinra. In Rebirth, she tells Sung she never hated him, even though she hates Hojo for conducting tests on her mom until she died, and Sephiroth for his own goals. Aerith's rage is signaled many times with her fist clenching, but she does not hate Sung for when he helped kill tens of thousands of people. Aerith and Sung are both idealists. However, their idealism is being portrayed as just a ruse to mask their true attempt to monopolize the material, which includes, in this world, the power of the lifestream.
I never hated you, you know.
Aerith urges the party to forgive and focus on the future and not the past, even though the future
does not yet exist.
Sephiroth also suggests,
Let go of the past, Cloud, for the future is bright.
But since it means basically the same thing Aerith said, given Cloud's history with Sephiroth, it was likely intended as reverse psychology, to keep Cloud remembering the past and carry it into his future. Overall, Sephiroth was training Cloud in Remake and Rebirth to take reality more seriously, so that he can engage with what is in front of him, break from his freeze reaction to Sephiroth himself, and block his sword from killing Aerith, at least in one world. Aerith is essentially attempting to trick others into not taking reality seriously, so that the Cetra can get away with monopolizing the lifestream, while Sephiroth is encouraging attachment to reality and the anger that comes with it. As a side note, the developers Katase and Hamaguchi did a Reddit AMA recently. I don't know who this person is, but someone asked if Cloud commanded the Black Whisper to open the portal to save Aerith. They responded that it was a spoiler that could not be answered. I made this claim in my theory video.
Aerith.
Cloud coolly steps forward to say Aerith in a command. The black whispers spring forth from Cloud, just like when Sephiroth summons them. It's a very vague response, but it's interesting that they responded to it at all. In the livestream black and white section of On the Way to a Smile, Aerith and Sephiroth were both recruiting spirits to their side. These are likely the white and black whispers of Rebirth. I think the whispers of Rebirth are one manifestation of idealism versus realism, but don't embody that conflict exactly. The white and black dichotomy appears more akin to creation, protection, or peace versus anger and destruction. A few lines from livestream black and white stick out to me. From Sephiroth's perspective, quote, "On the surface, there were many people who no longer had their normal lives, and at the man's temptation, the dark parts of their hearts grew even larger." And then from Aerith's perspective, quote, "Beneath the surface of enmity were hidden memories, memories from their lives as normal people. She released those thoughts and dissolved them into the livestream. Having lost the core of their emotions, the surface animosity disappeared." Sephiroth's strategy was to cause people to lose their normal lives after being branded by geostigma, and Aerith's solution was to release the memory of their normal lives so they would not be emotionally hateful for losing them. Aerith identified emotions and memories as the problems. Emotions are generally considered anti-idealistic, being born of feelings caused by the desires or loss of lived experiences in the material world. So, in order to get rid of hatred, Aerith urges the forgiving and forgetting of the past. This is one reason why Aerith does not actually attempt to help Cloud recall his true memories. I could tell the first instance of this was in Hojo's lab when Tifa asked Aerith if she noticed anything different or wrong with Cloud.
A touching reunion.
Hey, you think Cloud's doing okay? He's been acting really weird lately. More than usual.
True. But it's Cloud. I'm sure he'll be fine. But what about you, Tifa? How are you holding up?
Huh? Oh, I'm fine.
Aerith brushed off Tifa's concern, asking her how she was doing instead. In Rebirth, Aerith lies to Cloud and the others several times, and probably urges Tifa to do the same.
She say something?
Not about you two, no. Still, I can tell.
Was wondering, what's Cloud been doing these past 5 years? Where's he been?
And you're asking me this?
Just had a feeling you'd know. This is gonna sound crazy, but as far as I know, Cloud was never in Nibelheim 5 years ago.
You never forgot, did you? That's why you've been acting weird.
Didn't want to upset you. That's all.
Zack was my friend. How could I just forget him like that?
Aerith actively tells Cloud to find his true self, even though he tells her he's fine, and even though she didn't confirm his partial memory recollection.
Hey, did Tifa talk to you? About,
Hey, Aerith? I talked to Cloud. He said he remembers Zack. How they were friends 5 years ago.
What? I don't think so. At least, not about anything important.
oh.
Aerith referring to Cloud remembering Zack as nothing important indicates she is okay with Cloud not regaining his true memories, despite what she says, because she is planning on using Cloud for her own ambition. Aerith found the Gi's black materia at the bottom of the crater and put it in Cloud's pocket. It took me a while to understand why Sephiroth would allow Aerith to take the black materia, but then I realized Cloud placing the Gi's materia into his sword was the hint that Aerith plans to use them as a weapon. Gi said their black materia has the power to destroy their spirit. Aerith is planning on using Cloud herself. When the party arrives at the northern crater, she will urge Cloud to attack Sephiroth with that supposedly spirit-destroying materia in his sword, but it's a setup. Sephiroth and the Gi found a way to unmask Aerith's and the Ancients' peaceful ruse, just like Sung's karmic proposal masked Shinra's overt materialistic greed. Aerith's urging to forget real infuriating past is intended to mask the malicious greed of the Cetra's past. Sephiroth's body is still in the northern crater. He did not have the capacity to fight destiny himself. He needed Cloud, Aerith, and the rest to do it for him, so taunted the idealistic greed of Aerith's Cetra heritage. Gi said their planet was subsumed by the Cetras, but stopped short of overtly accusing them of anything specific besides taking their materia. But once the red energy imbued in their materia mixes with the blue in the north and revives them, they are going to be very pissed off. One of the core themes of Rebirth, if not the core theme, is anger. There are at least 10 different words for anger used in Rebirth.
Listen. Destiny comes.
I hate him.
Anger.
Pissed.
Am I intolerant too?
Loathsome. Pain and spite.
Envy us.
Rage.
Enmity.
Anger.
Bitter prayer.
Forget not thine ire, for it shall remake thee.
Sephiroth gained more spirits to his side in the livestream by giving people Genova's mimetic legacy, which was stigmatized by the planet and ruined their lives, causing them to be hateful. As I explained in my theory with several scenes from Advent Children, the effects of geostigma were actually caused by the planet trying to eliminate Genova's mimetic legacy from people, which resulted in their symptoms and deaths.
The stigma. It's a symptom of alien matter infesting the body. The body tries to eliminate it and overcompensates.
Essentially, what was happening was Sephiroth and Jenova were giving humans the experience of the Gi's stigmatization by the Cetra. Compare these definitions of stigma with Jung's concept of the shadow. From Merriam-Webster, a set of negative and unfair beliefs that a society or group of people have about something. From the Cambridge Dictionary, a strong feeling of disapproval that most people in a society have about something, especially when this is unfair. Carl Jung said, "Shadow is that hidden, repressed, for the most part inferior and guilt-laden personality whose ultimate ramifications reach back to the realm of our ancestors. If it has been believed hitherto that human shadow was the source of evil, it can now be ascertained on closer investigation that the unconscious man, that is, his shadow, does not consist only of morally reprehensible tendencies, but also displays a number of good qualities, such as normal instincts, appropriate reactions, realistic insights, creative impulses, etc." These definitions of stigma describe the exact same concept as Jung's shadow, but Jung associated the shadow closer to realism and was hesitant to completely stigmatize traits typically associated with the shadow. He ultimately thought it would be most beneficial for these traits to be accepted and reintegrated into individual and social consciousness. There is an interesting scene in Rebirth when the party returns to Nibelheim.
So, which one's your house?
That one.
Aw, looks cozy. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
No, don't worry about it. It's all new to you.
When Aerith and Cloud are sitting atop the water tower, Aerith comments on Cloud's old house looking cozy. Then, Cloud is immediately fed the image of his house burning. It's hard to say whether Sephiroth or Aerith is feeding Cloud this image. Aerith is certainly the one causing Cloud's mental static in the last 4 times in Rebirth. She is the only explanation that makes sense when Cloud is in between worlds with Sephiroth and he sees scenes of roadmen being killed, culminating in him being a roadman himself. It also happened right after Aerith gave him the white materia. Atop the water tower, Aerith and her clear materia are right beside him. So this static is either Aerith reinforcing the fact that Sephiroth killed Cloud's mom and burnt down his hometown, or Aerith is trying to make him forget his bad memories while sounding like she is oblivious to his experience, like when she brushed off Tifa's concern for Cloud in Hojo's drone. And then Sephiroth, or Jenova, is reminding Cloud of his real past that drives his anger. Part of the reason Sephiroth is reinforcing Cloud's anger is probably because it makes him better equipped to understand the Gi's position once they're revived.
My kin now dwell within these effigies. I beseech you, lend them your ears. Long has it been since they have had an audience.
In Advent Children, Cloud claimed that there is nothing he doesn't cherish before defeating Sephiroth. Interestingly, the first time Cloud gained an empowered aura before he charged Sephiroth, it was entirely blue. However, once Cloud did his final Omni Slash, the aura was both blue and purple. Purple is Jenova's color. This indicates that part of the reason why Cloud could finally defeat Sephiroth was because he accepted the Jenova within him. So, Sephiroth is taking Cloud up on his claim. He is seeing if Cloud can ultimately break himself free from Aerith's idealism, because as of now, the Gi and the Cetra are in conflict with each other. The Cetra's idealism versus the Gi's realism. 7's Ever Crisis mobile game continues this idea. Sephiroth was forced to kill Rosen because Rosen threatened to kill his friends after his village was annihilated. Rosen told him that he has to choose whose lives are most important to him. To Sephiroth, the remake project is to see if it is possible to not have to make a choice like that. He himself is of 2 worlds, both this planet's and Jenova's. He looks outwards towards this thing that the world become a part of at the edge of creation in preparation for what else is to come. My biggest questions for Part 3 are how this conflict is going to be set up and what are the potential solutions that will be available to the characters and players. 7's Materia system itself is close to definitive proof of this conflict. It is clearly based on Marvel's Infinity Stones, and it may hold a hint to a potential ending. The yellow Infinity Stone is the Mind Stone. The yellow materia are either mind activities or skill techniques, assessing, praying, focusing one's chakra, learning from enemies, stealing, item economizer, gambling, etc. If we were able to impose our mental will directly into space, we will be performing magic. In the Marvel Universe, the green stone is the Time Stone. Time is a green magic materia in 7. Also, the Time Stone is held and protected by Doctor Strange, the Master of Magic. The blue Infinity Stone is the Space Stone. If we attach a blue materia to green, it further amplifies these magics. Magnify increases the area, Elemental imbues the element to surround weapon or armor, Synergy duplicates the player's actions, Swiftcast makes the effect of a spell to appear instantly, Absorption returns some of the effect of the spell to the caster, and otherwise enhances magic. Red materia are the summons. The red Infinity Stone is the Reality Stone. It can change the material reality of objects and areas and transmute matter into any other type of matter. It can temporarily or even permanently change the reality of a scenario, fabricating a new reality. The red Infinity Stone is the Physical Stone, the Material Stone, the Stone of the Body. In 7, Jenova herself has the power of the Reality Stone, since she is partly composed of the Gi's red.
This is
the source of everything.
it's an illusion.
The purple power stone is like amplifying the spatial power of the bodily red. In 7, almost all purple materia directly enhances or modifies the power of the characters. In Avengers Infinity War, Thanos was able to physically beat the Hulk using the power stone. There is one Infinity Stone not represented in 7's materia system, the Orange Soul Stone. If you have watched one of my previous theory videos, you may remember how I explained how the human and Cetra's base spirit color is not actually green like the livestream, but yellow. It becomes green when it mixes with the blue Mako found abundantly in the north, which the Gi are also after.
The body withers and returns to the planet. But what of the mind, the spirit, the soul? Much like its former vessel, it too returns whence it came. To the great river where all intertwine and circle the planet without end. A cycle of continuous convergence and divergence. The ceaseless ebb and flow that is the life stream.
The life stream in this instant is dominantly blue. Then once Bugenhagen mentions the mind, spirit, soul returning to the planet, the entire life stream turns from blue to green. The reason there are no orange materia in 7 is because the Gi's red and the Cetra's yellow are in conflict with each other. Reality, or the body, and the mind are in conflict with each other. The Cetra have kept the Gi locked away because they have an idealist perspective. They are portrayed as wise, thoughtful of history, and planners who intentionally promote the development of the lifestream. The Gi are portrayed as materialistic, longing for their own bodies, being unable to bear the detached floating of their spirits. They are guttural, tribal, adorning their faces with other bodily manifestations, while the Cetra hide their entire bodies in cloaks. The Gi desire their relics be returned to them and make physical effigies to embody their spirits as best as they can. It took me a while to figure out how I was going to wrap this all together until I remembered. There is one moment in 7 when we do see the orange materia. Do you remember when that was?
Hi. My name is Yuffie, materia hunter and elite special forces operative for the new Wutai government. I have orders to infiltrate Shinra HQ and steal their ultimate materia. To prove to our common enemy that Wutai is not to be trifled with. Members of Avalanche, with your full support, we got this. How about you tell me where in the Shinra building they're keeping that materia instead? Don't hold out on me now. I know you know.
Actually, I kind of don't. At least, not an exact location. All I know is that Shinra, for most purposes, treats materia as a weapon. Which means the Advanced Weaponry Division probably deals with it. And since that's in the basement, I see.
70, 80, 90, 100%, 110. Mako supersaturation confirmed.
Engaging materia cooling to reduce temperature.
Madame Director, you have a meeting shortly.
Stop. Your timing is impeccably atrocious.
Mako density and materia integrity are both holding steady.
Registering mass increase in core materia.
Now, show me something truly exquisite.
Contaminants registered.
We're leaving.
Materia growth accelerating, outpacing models. Registering crystallization within the reserve tanks.
The reaction is out of control! We have to stop it quickly!
Clean up the mess, would you?
Ma'am.
Scarlet is trying to create orange materia, but they are unstable and explode because the Gi and the Cetra are at war with each other. The mind has stigmatized the body and so has locked it away. The only way the complete soul materia can be formed is if they rejoin themselves. If this is the case, any question of who may be to blame for this conflict is still open for Part 3. However, to me it is clear that Sephiroth is using Aerith and the Cetra's self-righteousness and clouded eyes to lure her into resurrecting the Gi. It's going to be very cool to see what they do when that happens. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Final Fantasy XVI, so here's your spoiler warning. Some people find it hard to believe Aerith would be a clouded, self-righteous, malicious person, but betrayal and hypocritical self-righteousness are very common themes in Final Fantasy games. In the beginning of 16, Clive's mother herself betrays her husband and his entire fiefdom, having him and everyone else killed, only intending to spare one of her sons who could transform into Phoenix. There are some very poignant betrayals in 9 and Tactics as well, but those are some of my favorite game stories being remade, and I definitely don't want to spoil them for anyone. I am willing to bet, though, that we will get another glimpse of this thing Sephiroth says their world will become a part of in the 9 and Tactics remakes. What I'm guessing this is in real terms is Final Fantasy XVII, their next MMO. Wouldn't it be cool if the factions of a Final Fantasy MMO were based on the multitudes of games? Story-wise, this is what both Sephiroth and the Cetra are looking towards. The initial ending of Final Fantasy VII was a stalemate. Neither the Cetra nor the Gi had their spirits wiped out entirely, but their physical manifestations each went extinct. However, it seems the livestream's ability to continue on to this cosmological livestream could be enough of a goal for the Cetra. But what I really want to talk about is 16's ending. In the final fight between Clive and Ultima, there's a combat cutscene montage of each of them calling the powers of the icons, 16 summons.
is the altar at which you pray. Mine are the eyes that look down upon you all!
And yet still you cannot see. You are no better than us. We are one and the same.
We are not the same!
What do you think about the differences between their lines? Ultima is consistently referring to the summons as ideas or qualities or aspects of power, while Clive calls them by the names given to the manifestations of their physical bodies. It's another example of idealism versus realism. My next video is going to be about some heavier topics. There will be some Final Fantasy VII and also Dragon Ball Super references in the video, so feel free to watch it when it comes out. Beyond that, I will have more 7 specific content in the future, so if you enjoy my work, you can subscribe and stick around for that. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.
The only fantasy here is yours. And we shall be its final witness. I said, it's over!